Thank you. Okay, we're on to number 17, which are board member comments. I don't see any hands because we're too tired to raise our hands. I'm just kidding. Board member Klein, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Earlier in our meeting, I put forward a resolution to revoke the Portrait of a Graduate. It was not turned in on time to be uploaded to the board docs, so I just wanted to read it for the record, acknowledging that it did not pass, but to help explain or so that the public can know why I was opposed, or why I'm opposed to the Portrait of a Graduate, so that it's clear and not taken out of context. Because I do support the ideals that the Portrait of a Graduate puts forward. There are other reasons for not agreeing with it. So, resolution to revoke Portrait of a Graduate. Whereas the governance structure of public education in the state of Utah vests the Utah legislature with broad authority over public education, being constitutionally charged to, quote, provide for the establishment and maintenance of the public education system, end of quote, and designate schools and programs. And whereas an audit conducted in April 2021 by the Office of the Legislative Auditor General found that the USBE's strategic vision and mission, quote, differ from those outlined by the legislature in statute, and that alignment of education stakeholders' direction for the public education system into a single mission and vision could lead to less confusion and improved outcomes, end of quote. And whereas the audit indicated that USBE's mission focuses on, quote, creating equitable conditions and does not mention their role in preparing students with occupational skills, character development, and assessment for accountability, end of quote, and the USBE's vision, quote, lacks mention of their role in providing elements beyond educational achievement, such as strong moral and social values, and loyalty and commitment to constitutional government, end of quote. And whereas instead of aligning directly with the statutory direction of the legislative mission and vision for public education, the USBE superintendency and staff have adopted a crosswalk approach that uses Portrait of a Graduate to justify the board's unaligned mission and vision. And whereas Utah's Portrait of a Graduate was developed through a partnership with KnowledgeWorks to, quote, fundamentally transform the purpose of US education, shifting curriculum, assessment, school accountability, and data collection away from academics and toward social emotional learning, or SEL. And whereas KnowledgeWorks has openly claimed that the US Constitution is, quote, not only racist, but systemically racist, end of quote. And whereas Portrait of a Graduate is central to the state board's strategic plan, and whereas, quote, the implementation of all policies, programs, and responsibilities adopted in accordance with this public education code, inclusive of the board's strategic plan, the legislature, the state board, shall respect, protect, and further the interests of parents in their children's public education and promote and encourage full and active participation and involvement of parents at all public schools, end of quote. And whereas, quote, given parents have been significantly more involved in the education of their children, given the current dynamics, i.e. many parents want to handle the social, emotional, and ideological teaching of their children, and considering House Concurrent Resolution 8 that passed during the 2021 legislative session that reaffirms the state is secondary to the primary role of the parent, end of quote. And whereas Portrait of a Graduate's 21st century learning framework is heavily influenced by multiple data-driven interests, and whereas the hopes, dreams, and aspirations for a student solely belong to the student and his or her family, not to be controlled by an indeterminate community and collective vision for students, is anathema to the autonomy, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of each individual. Therefore, let it be resolved that the members of the Utah State Board of Education elected to represent the students, families, and local interests of their respective districts revoke Portrait of a Graduate and any similar initiatives that affect control over student outcomes through the use of collectively informed social and emotional learning expectations, standards, assessments, and data collection. Let it further be resolved that the board align its mission and vision with statute to help students develop foundational academic skills and constitutional principles through high-quality instruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Klein. I don't see any other hands. I want to make one small comment. I had the opportunity to speak at a graduation, and I would just like to repeat one line I said in there, and that is all, and then I will close. You are the miracle, and our children are the miracles, and that's all I wanted to share in my board member comments. So thank you. We will consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Really meeting at 8 o'clock.
Recording stopped.
Oh.